The NFL Combine is here. Our first start of news coming in to the world of best balls. We head into another season of big board drafting. Of course, I'm here on stream pretty much weekly right now, doing some big board drafts, trying to figure things out. There's a lot to talk about today, so here I am on the podium. What a real photo that is. Let's get into it here for the stream. And if it is you, I'm going to shame you, whoever is doing this. Somebody, actually like two people, kept leaving and re-entering the draft room over and over and over again. It was the fucking worst. So I was always spent the last 5 minutes, and I presume it was people trying to get into the stream room here. So if it is you, shame yourself in the chat. We got to talk about a lot today, though, including catching up on all the news stuff out there. And I want to open up with a little bit of a weird news story, but I thought was the most fun one here. And you can see me picking a little bit later in the round. So let's go to this screen. Jordan Schultz, a reporter for the NFL. Full disclosure, he follows me on Twitter for reasons unclear. I don't know if he liked my Barstool work, if he knows that I work at Football Outsiders. I don't know. He follows me, so he's cool by me. Verbally accosted Ian Rapoport in a Starbucks in Indianapolis. Let's read the story. For multiple sources witnessed the interaction, Jordan Schultz and Ian Rapoport of NFL media, verbal altercation Wednesday afternoon at the Starbucks. The incident came on my old pal PFT from Barstool. Big time media confrontation between two NFL newsbreakers. So Rapoport talking to an agent, which of course Rapoport is always doing because he's a fucking shill. Schultz said, "We need to talk." Rapoport replied, "We're told we don't need to talk," which is about the cuntiest reply you could have possible. And if you missed the tweets coming out as well, basically Ian Rapoport put out a tweet yesterday. Jordan Schultz had reported that Matthew Stafford was meeting in Montana with Tom Brady about the Raiders situation, the opportunity there. And basically was a thing where, like, if two guys are meeting in Montana, you could assume they're not normally going to link up just casually hanging out in Montana. It's not like walking down, Beverly Hills or something in LA or whatever cool part of New York, walking around in Soho, New York. You see somebody, I don't know where the fuck you'd run into somebody. You're really not running into people non-deliberately that often in general, even if you are in the same football player rich guy circles. Point being is, like, Jordan Schultz connected these dots. Ian Rapoport then carrying the water for agents as he always does was like, no, like sometimes this happens, rich people hang out or whatever. So really like a cunty tweet that made Jordan Schultz not seem like a real reporter. And the guy does get some scoops. I don't know that he's like, your Shams tier in the NBA or anything like that, but the guy gets some news. So like, he's not incredible or, discreditable in any way. I don't know, the lacking credibility. That's a better way to find a way around that. We're on the clock though. We got Amon-Ra here, Malik Neighbors here, Brian Thomas here. I have seen people start to reach up for Brian Thomas more. I still think Amon-Ra is probably your safest pick here. My exposures, I'm a little bit low on Amon-Ra right now, so we'll go Amon-Ra here. But you can see the board here, picking in the 9 spot. We'll get back to it in a moment. Let's get back to the rest of this article because it really, again, look, I'm a media boy. In my heart, I majored in public relations / journalism, so I get the stuff. Anyway, Schultz made accusations about Rapoport. We're told regards the accusations unfounded. So Schultz probably accusing Rapoport being a shill. I don't know, trying to bury Schultz, whatever it is. And then Schultz said, "If you have anything to say to me, say about me or say to me, say it to my fucking face." Schultz said, "If this continues, we're going to have a fucking problem." Schultz does not recall using profanity. Rapoport asked Schultz to step back. "If this happens again, we're going to have a fucking problem," Schultz said, or "now I'm going to step back." And then Ian Rapoport reported him to security, which, again, you're both national media reporters. Like, what a bitch. What an absolute bitch. So I thought that was the most fun story out of the combine. Obviously, it's not going to matter for your NFL draft boards, but two reporters, one of whom I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character on people. I feel like I always have been. I watch Ian Rapoport, how he conducts himself on media. I think Historical Anomalies pointed out in the Splash Play Discord, which of course you can join down below, $4.99 if you want to hit the join button. Was talking about, like, in the past, there was some NFL network thing where, like, the other guys on the show were basically making fun of Rapoport and how he's always on his phone and, whatever, and, like, in a way that, could be fun, but maybe it's not quite as fun as it seems. All right, we got Amon-Ra here. Drake London, I haven't taken some more of. Obviously got fed pretty well by Michael Penix on the home stretch. We're going to go here. Amon-Ra, Drake London start. Maybe we're live for some real zero RB shit today. We'll see. But point being is, like, I don't like the guy very much. I get weird vibes, and I think these reporters too. And I know some of the social media stuff around when Woj retired, like, and him then making it sound like he, had survived wars. The people kind of giving him his flowers when he did retire. I think people are kind of souring on the national reporter guys and how they're basically, largely just vessels for agent propaganda. Sometimes the players as well, with how that would go. But I think that for, guys like Rapoport, there's like a really inflated sense of self. And look, like at this point, like, there's a point where I thought, I was getting recruited for jobs like ESPN and thought I was going to get in there. I think at this point that ship sailed for me. So if you want to call it, sour apples or whatever, I would certainly get it. But I think really like I think the disconnect between somebody like me, somebody like your Pete's, your Davis Maddox, your Liam, your whatever you want to say in the space, football, your Pat Cranes, even the people that are a little more heady about football, like the Brett Colemans and that. Like I think for the most part, people you get on this side of content are like real people. And then the people you get on that side are like just trying really hard to fit this role and what they think is supposed to be a TV personality, and then they also really buy their own hype in a real major way. So I think Schultz, like Team Schultz all the way, like I can ride or die for Jordan Schultz. And actually, and that's the thing too, like I think Rapoport, a little bit of a keyboard warrior attitude there, where like if you're going to say shit behind a keyboard, you're going to say shit, on chats and on Twitter and whatever, you should back it up. And if you're like attacking this guy's credibility and kind of thumbing him down, I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was really one of the more interesting stories in a while here. So shout out to that one. Shout out to PF Pro Football Talk for reporting that out. Would love to see Spags knock out Linguist. He is a friend of mine. I would not be the case. Isn't he in like 5'0"? He is a small guy. He's a small guy. And also too, like his wife having a Twitter handle and she's like what the bankstress or whatever. And she's like, me and Rapoport's wife. And that's fuck it all. Burn it down. Rapopus. Yeah, sure. Let's see. When Ian farts, he takes the deepest breaths for sure. Oh man. Hey, look, sometimes you gotta get high off your own supply, I guess. Put them in an Oklahoma drill. I mean, look, somebody, I think also on Twitter was saying like, they'd be curious to see like who would win in a battle royale amidst all the reporters, like not including former players. I'd be curious to see that. I like Adam Schefter is like fucking also 5'0", Rapoport 5'0". Schultz at least showing me he's a wild card. So I think he's got some decent odds on him. Jay Glazer would have to be your favorite, though, I would think, given the fact that he trains MMA. Obviously, a little bit of a bloated kind of guy overall, but cares about his mental health. I would say probably Jay Glazer would be my pick off the top of my head. Asking for security's peak keyboard warrior behavior. Look, or and you could also take it if you're trying to defend him, like as trying to be the bigger guy, whatever. I don't know. But other things to note here, Falcons. I guess I should probably start keeping a news document again. Just so I have things to run through in the top here. Falcons. So reportedly willing to bring back Kirk Cousins as the backup, which I think would make sense because of the fact they talked about last year. Part of why they drafted Michael Penix, they just didn't want that team to be without, a quarterback in a situation like we see every time where QBs get hurt. If you're a team with playoff aspirations, you're then relying on a guy with no real pedigree who you don't actually want playing QB. So for them, I think with how they approached, the situation last year stupidly, they could do it again this year and keep Kirk Cousins. I would say more likely they're trying to do that in a way to posture where they're saying, and a lot of the stuff that teams do there where it's leaking things to the media, especially talking to the media, at a situation like the combine where, so many GMs and coaches are talking, giving, legit sound bites of various things. A lot of it's just posturing to get better negotiations for the things they're doing. So for the Falcons, like if you signal kind of like, trying to think, Debo, I think would be the most recent example where teams were initially thinking about trading for Debo, but it was so clear that they were going to cut Debo that they didn't want to give up more than a 5th round pick. Same thing the Falcons are trying to do where they're willing to say, hey, like we're capable of bringing back Kirk Cousins. So if you want him, you better come up and trade him. I don't know what that means. I would guess that it means more likely that somebody will actually step up and trade for him. That's a really tough contract to trade for as well. So I think it's possible Kirk Cousins stays where he is, and he's probably not a guy to take at the end of drafts, assuming that he's going to go somewhere and, and be good. We got a 0020 here. Yeah, this is definitely a wide receiver avalanche, which makes me think that whether these people are in chat or not, this is people who are stream lovers. We got Amon-Ra, Drake London here. Josh Allen, like not even getting ADP discounts at this point. Mike Evans here, I don't mind. I think we're getting avalanched a little bit, so I'm going to go Mike Evans. I know I'm doing 0 RB. Obviously, this guy doing 0 RB. Nobody else is, but a little bit early for Tet. On pace for Higgins, on pace for Garrett Wilson. So nothing else is that weird. But yeah, Moore and Tet going early for this guy. Lyle Kittenhouse, one of my least favorite names in drafts, doing his thing as usual. Anyway, so Cousins, I would say at this point, I've taken him late in drafts in the assumption he would go to the Browns. I thought that was the most likely place for him. There are obviously other places that he could go. But I think at this point for For Kirk Cousins, I would not just take him, if especially in a 2 QB kind of team, would not take him as like your bailout late QB and the assumption he's going to go somewhere, because he might just be back on the Falcons not playing next year. If the game of Texas Hold'em there, them trying to bluff teams out of actually paying for him, he might just end up without a spot. This team's got to go to the other guys, whether it be rookies or vets. Besides that, you have the Matthew Stafford stuff. So I think at this point, I'm still not sold that he leaves the Rams. That's been my case from day one. Rashee Rice at 37 coming up here. Definitely a little bit of an avalanche vibe in this room. So for Stafford, right now, it seems most likely Raiders or Giants. The Giants, everybody links to, and I do think the underdog guys, Josh and Hayden, made the best case for them, basically why that would be, Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law's on the Giants. I still think fundamentally, and you have to look back at who the Giants have brought in, who they've had as their, key QB from day one. Obviously, they got handed Daniel Jones, sort of, and then ended up getting the big deal, but they were willing to pay him under this current regime of Schoen and Dable as well. Paid Daniel Jones the big money after they had the one good year. Obviously, that wasn't a good contract. But still, for the most part, mobile QB. They bring in Tyrod Taylor, mobile QB. They bring in Drew Lock, mobile QB. Tommy DeVito, not a mobile QB. They make him run and get out of the pocket a little bit more than you would think for a guy like DeVito, who is a fucking slow Italian guy, much like me. Point being, like, it's really not a situation for them where they've taken on a statuesque kind of player like Matthew Stafford. So I'm still a little bit skeptical on that, but there's enough smoke there. The Raiders one, I think, makes a lot of sense to me. We're on the clock here. We have a 0-0-3-0. James Cook trying to get big paid. I think it's equally possible that they don't pay him, and we'll see how that looks. Devontae Smith, J-Mo, Lamar. I'm going to go Lamar. Not a big Lamar lover, but at this point, 7 picks after ADP, because the room is just reaching around a little bit stupidly. We will take the discount on Lamar. We'll happily take our 20 to 25 fantasy points a game, sometimes higher, and just move on here. Of course, I'm not the biggest elite QB believer in the world. Even my precious boy, Jaden Daniels, love him. I'm only taking him about 12% so far in my exposures. As you can see here with the best ball overlay tool on screen, I've got him at 11.5% at this point in my 25 drafts I've done so far. I think it might be 26, something like that. Point being, though, is like, I don't love elite QBs. If you're going to give me the elite QB on the discount, I'll take the elite QB. So Lamar Jackson's going to be it. Mark my words, Lamar's going to win it all next year. I don't, sure. I'm not going to mark your words, if I'm being honest here, but I'm sure he's as credible as anybody else to win it all. Staffy not going to Giants. Remember Shador throwing their neighbors on the streets of NY. I really don't think they're a Shador team either. I honestly don't know what they would do if they can't get Cam Ward. And it does seem at this point like Cam Ward to the Browns is gaining in likelihood, basically because like they are completely handcuffed on what they're going to do cap-wise. They couldn't even trade Myles Garrett if they wanted to. Like, they would have to do a lot of different maneuvering, including extending money for Deshaun Watson out to even trade Myles Garrett and get whatever they would get for him. So they're like pretty handcuffed. They kind of need to bring in either like a pure like minimum salary QB or a guy in a rookie contract to keep things stable for that first term. So I think the Browns getting Cam Ward is looking more likely to me, even though initially seemed like they were going to try another position out. Browns are also a team that said this week, their GM, Andrew Berry, had said if they were to take Travis Hunter, they would play him at wide receiver, which makes me think they probably would not take him at number 2 either. So Abdul Carter seems like no matter what, he's going number 1 at this point, whether it's the Titans taking him there or they trade down and try to take a QB, I think is a possibility still. They're definitely holding their cards a little bit closer. And some of the reports are about what Tennessee's doing. Even though they've said they're open for business, they're not likely to actually consider a trade until they really know the board later in March, is what I saw yesterday. So I would say that I think obviously the trickle-down effect here matters a lot. I've had the Giants getting Cam Ward in my brain since day one. And, last year, that was one of the things I got right in the big board was I immediately connected Jaden to the Commanders. I immediately connected Drake May to New England. And that ended up being a thing that allowed me to kind of get stacks and stuff early on. When I get neighbors, I do try to take Cam Ward, or at least I have in the past. I think I would be less inclined to do that now because to me, I think the Giants either have to trade up to 2 and pay the Browns a little bit of a fee to get that 1 pick there and ensure nobody else jumps them. Or I think they have to deal with whatever else. And I don't think taking Shador at 3 is going to happen. I think if they took Shador, they'd be trading back to take Shador because it doesn't seem like anybody else wants Shador top 5, at least from what the early tea leaves are. That's my lean. Been patiently trying to take Terry in the third and Jaden Stack in the fourth. 52 drafts and he hasn't fallen. Terry, I never see falling. 27. I've said it enough times here. I think Terry's overvalued. And Terry was one of my biggest stands last year. He was way too cheap. He is suffering from the Michael Pittman, last year to compare to 2 years ago situation where the guy plays well. You're paying too steep of a price tag the next year. I am not getting a lot of Terry so far, and I would take him over Tet McMillan. Like, this person's an idiot, I think, for reaching there in the 2-hole. No disrespect to the guy with the probably racist name. But anyway, 1030 here. We have Lamar, Amon-Ra, Drake London, Mike Evans. New Orleans getting Derek Carr back. Things stabilizing there a little bit. Pickens, some positive talk for him. I am low on Kenneth Walker. I have no real issue with Kenneth Walker here, and I'll take him. 19% Kamara, 8% of Kenneth Walker. We'll get a little bit up on Kenneth Walker. Still the same concerns for Seattle, I think, as we had last year, where Charbonnet actually showed a pretty good amount in time without Kenneth Walker. You can make the case that he should probably get a little more run this year, a little more opportunity for himself, even if it's not being the lead back. I think no matter what, that's Kenneth Walker. But Seattle is going to be a better team this year, I would think, at OC. Just feels like the Ryan Grubb thing, whatever reason, just didn't get going. I think for Kenneth Walker, getting a Clinton Kubiak offense is going to be a positive thing for him because that team very willing to running the ball creatively. Things went, shitty for the Saints offense after everybody started to get hurt, and things definitely, were not as good as the beginning part of the year. But I think Clinton Kubiak showed me enough last year. And frankly, even when the guys got hurt, like, the offense was not good, but I think it was still performing as well as it could relative to having, really no talent left at receiver when Olave got hurt and Shaheed went out. Obviously, like, different sequence for those events. But I was impressed enough by what Clinton Kubiak did that I think he'll be an upgrade for Seattle team that clearly wants to run it, wants to feed DK Metcalf more. JSN will continue to ascend. Doesn't look like Lockett will go back to Seattle based on the quotes there, but that's how that looks. Pittman's a value this year. He's a value this year. Yeah, but that's the whole thing. That's price sensitivity. I mean, it's the same as we talk about in NBA DFS every day in the Splash Play NBA channel. Of course, shows going off Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day if you want to get some NBA content in your life. But it's same thing, NFL too. Like, if a guy is normally priced at $5K and 1 week he's 3,500, you should probably want to play that guy in DFS no matter what the format is. Same thing for NFL, where like a guy was priced 1 year in the 60s, then he goes up to the 30s. It's just a different equation then. And now he's back, now he's down to the 100s in that third year. Then he's probably a little bit cheap, even though he still, showed you his downside. Michael Pittman did last year. 3 RBs plus Rice. This feels like a 311 now. I mean, this guy, 4 RBs plus Rashee Rice and Joe Burrow. A lot of bad drafts out there. I'm sure that guy would come into chat and go and yell and be mad about it, but like, that's just not a good draft. We have a 1-1-3-0 build here. We obviously have some Detroit going. We could take Jared Goff as QB2. Jerry Jeudy here. If he were to get Cam Ward as QB, I feel a little bit better about it. Laporta would be the obvious one here. I am low on Laporta. Yeah, let's do that. Another premium deviation here. So we slowed down at wide receiver, but we have a 1-1-3-1 build. We have Lamar as our QB. Got him as a 7-pick value. I think that was too good of a deal to pass up at this point. Kenneth Walker here. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Mike Evans, our wide receivers. And then the double stack with Amon-Ra with Sam Laporta. Obviously, we can add on Jared Goff to this. That'd be logical. If not, we'll just have the passing game attack for Detroit without the QB, and that's also fine enough here because we have Lamar. So Lamar should probably be able to come over the top for Jared Goff in most situations anyway. Let's see. Brock Bowers in the Puka Nacua role would certainly look pretty good for both Neighbors if they were to get Stafford and for Brock Bowers if they were to get Stafford. I mean, that's it. I would have concerns for that Raiders offense if they don't get like a great QB because it's not like Pete Carroll teams were doing so well. But look, Chip Kelly's gonna be creative, I would think, and he ran a good offense in OSU. Even though I don't think it really. Maybe somebody like Adam can tell me if he feels differently if he watched enough of them. I don't think that was a traditional Chip Kelly offense. Kind of seemed like plugging and playing what OSU has done well forever, which is just throwing the ball at pretty good volume, running the ball okay with Judkins and Henderson. I don't think Chip Kelly did much that was like super unique there, but maybe he can bring something. And I don't know. He's learned, I would hope, how to run a less gimmicky, bullshitty offense. No Jordan Matthews. Actually, Jordan Matthews still in the league, so maybe Jordan Matthews can go to the Raiders, and then Chip Kelly can feed him 10 targets a game for literally no reason again. But yeah, guys, we're on I'm still waiting on a regular schedule, the big board. I know, frankly, my views are suffering for it. I know it's my own, well, it's not really my own fault. My underdog rep is on vacation this week. So really feeling valued after the deal. My deal's up tomorrow. So I don't know what's going on at this point. It was looking good and then just no follow-up. And it's been really painful for me. Really stressful, honestly, because like legitimately, if I don't get the deal I want, then I have to shop myself to prize picks and go to, and like I have to just do other stuff basically to make the business run. So it's been really annoying to be totally honest. But hopefully we'll find resolution soon. I'm trying to still do 5 streams a week, but I'm just not going to do it for free and give away my EV and shit every day. Like it's not, it doesn't bring me joy. If it's a paid thing, I'm happy to do it. But you know, that's where we are right now with that deal. So just to keep you guys in the loop. I won't talk about it too much, but like, I really, let's see, you know, Emeka Egbuka, highlight him here. He seems like he is now pretty much entrenched in being a first-round pick. If I had to guess, Tet McMillan, Egbuka, Matthew Golden, your most likely first-round picks here. Besides them, as talked about, I love Trey Harris. Don't think he makes it into the first round. Luther Burden, I think, is more of a cusp first round or second rounder guy. He's been, a lot of people have had him in their heads, the first round pick. And I think that's sort of tough for some people who do this draft content to really kind of adjust to that. Frankly, Luther Burden wasn't that good last year. He was okay. He avoided a shitload of tackles for whatever that's worth. But he didn't command targets at that great of a rate. He didn't do anything special with it. His EPA stuff wasn't that good. So really for the wide receivers, I think Burden coming down going to be a thing where he's probably been overpriced this whole time. We have a 1-1-3-1 build here. This point, wide receivers getting bled a little bit. I do take Tony Pollard a lot. Jalen Warren is going to come up because of Najee Harris basically officially not coming back to Pittsburgh. So let's get ahead of it. We'll take Jalen Warren here. So only 3 receivers, but I think we'll be okay grabbing a second receiver around the turn. So a 1-2-3-1 build. Lamar, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren, Amon-Ra, Drake London, Mike Evans. I like our top 3 receivers, so I'm pretty comfortable pushing receiver a little bit more. Sam Laporta at tight end here. I think the start's okay. We got to make it up to receiver a little bit, but again, Jalen Warren to me, at least until we see a second back come into Pittsburgh, and there could be one, rookie that comes in, a Caleb Johnson, played in the black and yellow in college. You would look good as a Steeler too, as kind of a better version of a plotting kind of Najee Harris type. But, they could also go the other way and just, bring in fucking Zach Moss and his broken neck or something. It's the Steelers. So I think Jalen Warren right now, his ADP is going to come up. I'll take our shots at 80. If I had to guess, he'll come to the 70s. Like he should absolutely be ahead of Quinshon Judkins, like easily. I would think that Jalen Warren, if we were to assume Najee doesn't come back and Jalen Warren came the lead back, he would go ahead of Travion, Caleb, probably neck and neck with Kamara, Montgomery, Connor, I guess. Maybe even higher, honestly. Let's see. Actually ran it more in the last couple of years. Ton of talent to work with, so kind of hard to tell. Less gimmicky for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Chip Kelly, at least from what I saw looking at Will Howard's numbers, it seemed like a normal offense to me. And Chip Kelly's obviously always gotten decent results anywhere. He got good days from like Mark Sanchez, Nick Foles, whatever he had when he was at Eagles QB. But yeah, I would say that for Chip Kelly, we'll see what he can do in the pros. But I think it'll be I think it's going to be a little Cliff Kingsbury-esque, to be honest. Running, short throws, timing stuff. Josh Downs came back. So, yeah, no, I think we worked out okay here. Mark Andrews still on the board as well. At this point, I've taken enough Mark Andrews at 15%. I think I'm going to go to Josh Downs here instead. I've been trying to get a little more Isaiah Likely, so we'll see if that can line up later on. But if not, it is what it is. A 1-2-4-1 build here with Lamar, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren. A receiver, we have Amon-Ra, Drake London, Mike Evans, and Josh Downs. Josh Downs has a good connection with Anthony Richardson, and right now the Colts looking like an open competition at QB. So Josh Downs maybe gets an upgrade there as well, potentially. And Sam Laporta, our tight end, who doesn't make me feel great. I don't think Sam Laporta treating him as your elite tight end, it's going to cover your ass for most weeks is the move anymore, but he obviously does have spike week upside. We have now a Detroit stack, so that works. Thoughts on Golden? Texas fan, don't get it. So Golden commanded targets at a not great rate, 21% target per out run this year. He did spike in the playoff, which is always going to make a guy come up a little bit more. He's going to be fast. I think he's like mid 4.3s is my estimate based on the data I saw. Had a 0.53 EPA. I think he's a better version of A.D. Mitchell. And, well, The target earning is comparable to AD Mitchell. He's not as good as Xavier Worthy in earning targets. Worthy was, I believe, 27%. Actually, I think I have that number on a sheet here. Worthy at 20. Worthy is 29% target per out run. So Golden basically had 9% less targets per out run. Basically like 1/3 less of the targets per out run if you want to, kind of math it out. So he's not as good of a target earner as Worthy. And as you saw early on from Worthy, he's not, he wasn't there day one. I think Golden's going to get the draft capital though, because he did have the big college football playoff and he's going to test as a 4.3 range guy. He did produce enough and he had a good EPA per target and all that. So I think he's okay. I don't think, much like every rookie, I don't really think he's priced appropriately. And that's really the big thing here. If you haven't watched the videos, and I think it's one of those things that, as we talked about last time, I have to give you guys the realistic view of things and how I view the big board. I know the excitement is to take the rookies and all that, get some new names in, hope they're good day one, like many rookies have been the last few years. Because that's happened enough times the last few years, I think a lot of the rookies this year are a little bit overpriced. You have a lot of guys who I think, and this is sort of where I've landed after, kind of settling with everybody's takes and me not agreeing, quite frankly, with a lot of them. They're going to have a lot of guys that have like decent NFL careers, like 5-year careers. Obviously you're hoping for that 10-year career for some guys, but I don't think a lot of them are going to hit in year one. Like I really strongly don't believe. I think your Gency's going to hit year one. Absolutely. Like I really find it hard to believe whether he hits relative to his ADP comes down to a million different factors and all that. And if he spikes for you in the playoffs, obviously that's what's going to matter the most. Besides that though, like him, Tet, I think will produce. At tight end, I think Tyler Warren will get on the field and be okay. But like, I don't know that I buy in that there are as many locked in producers. Omarion Hampton, I think, is getting closer. But not really sold that that's the case as much as people seem to be based on ADPs. We have a 1-2-4-1 build here. I'm going to go Bateman. I'm just going to get my double stack here. Or not my double stack, my single stack here, and hopefully set up for a double stack. So we got our 5th receiver here. Bateman impressed me last year. I have been 8% so far. So with the field, getting a little bit more of him and Josh Downs today. And we got our first stack partner with Lamar. So obviously we do run the risk. Maybe year 2, Tez Walker does something better. Maybe the Ravens like some receiver in the class more and that bumps Bateman down. But I thought Bateman showed finally what I thought he could be as a player this year. So we'll do that. He thinks there's some Lad. Lad at least got targets high 20s. 20% target per out run is like you're basically a non-factor. Your one credit, I guess, would be like Brian Thomas last year, I think was like 23%. Brian Thomas is 23.1% last year, similarly high EPA, but he was also a physical freak. Like he's a big guy, he's fast and powerful. Golden's not quite that, so I'm not quite as sold on Golden. We have a 1-2-5-1 build here. Could use one more RB, I think. Keon Coleman, not really the receiver I'm looking for. I'm going to go Najee Harris here. Again, if he gets a decent free agent landing spot and is one of very few passable free agent RBs, I think he looks good. He's not coming back to Pittsburgh no matter what, so the EVs here are probably pretty good. So yeah, Najee Harris, RB3. There you go. Brett knew Najee Harris's music. What would Najee Harris's music be? I feel like it'd be some chopped and screwed, slow music for him. The way he runs. Did I see Petty come out of retirement to bink the 888? Because of course he did. I did not see that. No, but more. Honestly though, like I've done a show with Petty before. I think maybe a couple when I was at Stochastic. Don't know him that well. Corny as fuck. Like if you're gonna retire, fucking be retired. Don't do the grandstanding retirement thing. Like I watched the LOL stream with him. I get it, like, but you're not going to stay retired if you're that good at gambling like he's been for years. So I just thought that was stupid in the first place. More power to him, though. Shout out for the win. Stochastic fucking crushed in the main tournament yesterday. That fucking the guy who won for Stochastic put up 430 points, I think, in NBA, and it was like 7 Stochastic avatars in the top 10. So I'll give them the plug here since I'm mad at Underdog and I want to plug them. Stochastic, you want some NBA data, you get one more day here this week of their $1 package. Basically, you get all the data for today for $1. And it's been a good week for them, legit, twice this week, including one of the shows I did. The guy watched the deeper dive that I do with Stochastic at 5 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays every week. Guy won 100K on Monday. It's been my worst week of DFS in a while, so it's been great fun. Fucking 33% injured guys and multiple slates. NBA is a joy. 250 plus carries for Najee in a new team. Even if he doesn't get that, just getting a power back role. He'll be, worst case, he'll be a fancy version of Gus Edwards. But honestly, like Najee showed a little bit more juice last year than I thought he had left in him. Maybe, frankly, the coming up on his contract helped him out a little bit. Still negative EPAs per rush, negative 0.08 EPA per rush, negative 0.03 EPA per pass. But frankly, for Najee, that's not that bad. He also had a 21% avoided tackle rate, so that's like legit kind of juice. For comparison, Kenneth Walker's at 31, so he's like got all the juice. But James Conner at 25%, 25.5%. So, like Najee's in a range here of like a legit back. He's not just a Joe Mixon type with like a 10% avoided tackle rate and just you're getting there through volume and, well-run offense. So, yeah, I think Najee's a free agent. It's absolutely worth a shot. All right, so we got a pick coming up here. We'll see what we get. Very uncomfortable amount of Najee. Yeah, like I'm okay with being a little bit above the field. I haven't loaded up on him or anything. But he's one of those guys, though, if he gets... Denver's hunting for a feature back. They are the kind of team that could talk themselves into that, I think. Vegas, if they don't get Genty or something, maybe they could take a Najee on that. And if you have a Stafford Najee offense, he's probably kind of rising with the tide there. So, there's some ways to go. Where did Goff go? Goff must have went real early, right? Goff went 91. Man, just not used to that price tag for him. We got Michael Penix here for our QB2, so I'm just going to do that. Got a Drake London bet. Drake London, to me, was the big winner down the home stretch for Atlanta. Basically got targeted more than Darnell Mooney by a wide margin. Kyle Pitts as well. I think he's going to rise with the Michael Penix tide. So Penix and London, to me, one of the best stacks I think you can get. But let's see what we get around the bend. And guys, please show some love here if you can. If you're watching live or after the fact, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. It goes a long way here. The channel, unfortunately, we're just a little more dormant than I would like to be because I'm just not going to do 5 streams a week right now until I get my deal sorted out, because that's unfortunately what negotiation is. I'm like an NFL player. I'm like a shitty NFL player holding out for my deal. And we're hoping the holdout's going to come out okay. We're hoping we're going to get at least the Brandon Ayuk outcome where it's like, shit, you're giving me the same money, but but I'm back to it. But I'm just trying to figure it out as best I can here. At a certain point, the goal is to flip the switch and start hitting drafts with more regularity and start the flow of content I have for the year. But, we got to do what we got to do. So hit the like button, subscribe, goes a long way here, and I'll keep doing drafts as much as I can in the meantime. It's going to come up, though, more. I think post-combine was always my plan. I just thought we'd have the new deal. Then Mooney missed London's breakout game. That's my real concern. I don't recall firsthand all that stuff, but it was down the stretch with multiple games, and London's target share was up for everything. You can go through box scores if you want. Game log, Drake London. After I make my pick, but I'll pull it up in this tab in the meantime. All right, there we go. On the clock here, 2, 3, 5, 1. I'm trying to take a little more Colston Loveland at this point. I think I've seen enough steam for him. He does have a high target per route run. Didn't do a whole lot with it, but being able to command targets at the rate that he does, I think he's worth something. We're right at ADP for Isaiah Likely too. So let's do Isaiah Likely. Second tight end done. Our hope for Likely is that Mark Andrews, who the Ravens can save some cap money on. If they move on from him, Likely obviously jumps up. Kelsey is going to be back for KC, so it's not quite the same situation as Noah Gray, even though expect even a more ramped down version of Kelsey and Noah Gray to be stepping into the forefront a little bit more next year. But I think those two guys here, whether you get Andrews back or not, Likely probably gets more of a role next year. And if you get Andrews back, I think he's a fine play, but more likely then they're probably setting up for the future without Andrews if he's back. And I think Likely's well positioned then. I'd be shocked if Likely didn't get another contract from the Ravens too. Especially if Andrews gets cut or waived. Then you're definitely getting the Likely extension, I would think. But I think he gets one no matter what. And I think he's probably their quote unquote tight end of the future, because he's in that range now where guys actually start to become legit tight ends. Happy premature projectulations. Mexico. Thank you for that. All right. So Drake London's game's on the home stretch. When did Penix take over? Michael Penix. Michael Penix took over. I feel like it was week 14. Took over on the Giants game, 22nd. So 22nd, 8 targets. Washington game, 13 targets. The Carolina game, 18 targets for Drake London here. So the 3 games between Michael Penix starting, we're talking about, and I know the first read was even higher because I remember that when looking at fantasy points data for my column there. Wait, oh, that's not it. Times 2. He averaged 13 targets a game down the home stretch. So, yeah, Mooney missed the Carolina game. I don't think he didn't miss the Washington game. I don't think he missed the Giants game. So point being, yeah, Drake London, really good pick. And Michael Penix was treating him like a wide receiver 1. So, yeah, I think that Drake London, to me, wheels up for Drake London. Are we sure penis is any good? You got to try it for yourself, Brett. I think. That is just an unfortunate typo. Juvenile though it may be, obvious though it may be. Anyway, Penix last year, let's look up his numbers. Positive EPA per pass, so that's good. I mean, look, Brett, you're curious here. I get it. That's why we support people of all sexualities, curiosities here at Splash Play. Yeah, positive EPA per dropback, positive EPA per pass. He had a 0.08 EPA per dropback, 0.09 EPA per pass. Deep throws, 4.3 a game, only a 0.2 EPA there. Those numbers will get better, I think, for Penix. He's kind of a natural, aggressive downfield thrower. So, yeah, I think Penix did what he had to do. His catchable ball rate was not great. Catchable ball rate, 77%. Some of the better guys would be more in the 80 range, but it's not bad. He actually probably should have completed more passes. He had a 58% completion rate, the 77% catchable ball rate. So I think Penix is fine. It's really the main thing here. But, you know, like if you want to be concerned about him, I guess you can, but he's so cheap at this point. I don't know. He's got a huge upside. Like he should be a regular 300 yard per game passer, I think, at some point in his career. Rachaad White is the victim of an extortion scheme, according to recent reports. And that's the kind of guy I want to take here. Rachaad White, 2-4-5-2 build here. I think Rachaad White basically, so the main thing for him, extortion schemes aside, the team has already talked about keeping him involved, wanting him to be involved in the pass game. I think he's still going to be giving the majority of the work away from Bucky. Very comfortable taking Bucky, top 25 picks. If he falls, even more comfortable taking Bucky in the 30s. But Rachaad White at this point, I think, is really a player where I don't love the player, but at pick 150, we know what he can do. We know in blowout game scripts, he's likely still out there blocking, catches some passes over that stuff too. When the Bucs are playing from behind. So Rachaad White, to me, a really strong pick. I was hoping that Dotavian Wicks would come all the way back around, but is what it is. Let's see. Okay. I don't even know what we're doing here. Maybe we're all trying some penis. That's what I think we're doing. All right. And now, hey, one last plug. I'm still into the deal, guys, for Underdog. $1,000 in bonus cash. The promo codes will still work even if you watch this one after March 1st. But keep in mind here, promo code SPLASH, $1,000 in bonus cash. Sign up if you can. And hopefully when my rep gets back from vacation, maybe he'll take a look and decide that we should do a deal. I hope this is mostly coming off as self-deprecating, even though it is out of frustration. But it is fucking baffling, man. Gotta get Theo Von locked up, though. Theo Von's ready to do some big board drafts. He's gonna come on and go, "Hey, remember when I was on Real World?" Whoa. I don't even know what Theo Von does. I've watched his stand-up. I don't think he's that funny, to be honest. I get you guys like him in Gen Z. So if he's fucking older than I am, I think. So I don't know why Gen Z is so into Theo Von, but they are. 2-4-5-2 here. Antoine taking the entire clock, which we love in the big board. Jerome Ford here, currently your starter for Cleveland. Tyler Algier would give us a little more correlation. I have been taking Algier a good amount. I've not been taking Ray Davis. Ray Davis could benefit from the strong-handed negotiation of James Cook, who thinks he's a $15 million a year back, and he is entirely wrong about that. I think at a certain point I have to take Ray Davis, huh? I'm going to take Ray Davis. Cleveland's got to take somebody else besides Jerome Ford. I'm okay being 15% Jerome Ford. Probably not 20. I don't think I want to be 20 Jerome Ford. But I don't think he holds onto that starting job right now. He's too cheap for the chance that he does hold onto the starting job. But like they have to take, I don't know, probably a power back. Doesn't seem like they're going to bring back Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's exploring free agency. Doesn't seem like they have an interest in him based on the quotes they gave and bringing him back, which kind of sucks. Sad for Nick Chubb. I would have thought, they could bring him back at least as like a legacy kind of contract. bring back Ford, Chubb, get a rookie then who maybe can supplant Chubb in that role. But Chubb's going to sign somewhere and be a power back and score 10 touchdowns this year. Like, clip it if you want, if you feel like you need to. But like Nick Chubb, too cheap. Let's see. You only play him like 45% of the snaps or not paying him. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Theo Vaughn. Live off Theo Vaughn and kill Tony Shorts post football. I've never gotten into the kill Tony thing. I know people, my stochastic pals, like went to go see him in New York at one point. Josh and Laffy and Eric Lindquist. And I think Greg went on that too. Never got into it. I did enjoy the clip that was going viral this week of the guy doing the Elon Musk on the Kill Tony impression, which I thought was really good. I feel like I'm just explaining somebody else's funny bit to you instead of giving you anything that's actually funny. Yeah, it's not for me quite as much, but more power to you. I don't even consume much comedy content. I feel like to me, it's like wrestling podcasts, sports podcasts, video game YouTube channels I could put on the background and like listen mindlessly as some well narrated, well produced video breaks a computer game that I don't play and will never play in my life. Sort of how that looks. Oh, James Cook. Okay, I was like, yeah, James Cook. That makes sense. Yeah, James Cook. I don't see how he's worth $15 million a year. Like he broke some big plays out of nothing. I think he was a very helpful part of that offense. But like, yeah, they had Ty Johnson in really crunch time situations. They had Ray Davis taking enough work away at points that it still feels like to me he should probably be the power back there. Getting the red zone goal line work. So yeah, I think James Cook is really overrating his market, but he might overrate his market and drag it out. And then he'll probably get the same 13 mil Saquon gets because he's young and you could pay that, I think. But really, probably the Bills shouldn't. If they're not going to pay wide receivers, they fucking shouldn't pay him. We have a 2.552. Alik Ayumanor is getting enough draft capital to most likely be useful. As we know here, though, my one secret in a draft, which has not changed, I'm not doing enough streams to affect his ADP. Jalen Royals too cheap. He went to Utah State, had a 0.33 EPA per target, which is fine, but commanded targets at a high rate, should run the 4.3s. Kind of a when Debo wasn't fat, kind of that body type as well for Jalen Royals. So I'm a fan of Jalen Royals at this point. Seems like they chose Shakir. I don't think that's the case. They could find a way to afford both if they want to. I mean, teams, the cap, I'm not one of the people that thinks like the cap's imaginary. Like there clearly are ramifications for the cap, but you can always pay guys you want if you think you need to pay them. Shakir, it seems like they're paying him because they know he's a functional part of things, even if they upgrade parts around him. Because he would be great as your wide receiver 2. He'd be fucking lights out if he's your wide receiver 3, if you could actually improve those 2 spots around him enough. But yeah, like I think you could still pay Cook, but I don't know why you would. Especially for him, like James Cook, it'd be an early one, right? Because he's heading into his 4th year. Checking his stats here. Like ESPN doesn't make it easy just to see stats by year. Here we go. Yes, that's for his 4th year. So they would be paying him early, which I also don't think they would do. I think he just holds out. I think James Cook might be one of those guys that holds out and fucks things up if you draft him, which would not be good at his current ADP. I'll tell you what. Cook would probably fall back to where he was last year if he does hold out. So watch out for that one. 2.562 build here. I do like Austin Eckler to cap drafts off here down the home stretch. Roshan Johnson, I think, is getting less appealing now. Detroit making it pretty clear they're going to be adding meaningful RBs to that room to try to get Ben Johnson, quote unquote, what he needs, which sounds erotic. Let me put it like that. But we're going to take Austin Eckler here. Eckler was surprisingly, and I knew in season that he was playing well. He was really good last year. I assume he's going to come back to Washington. I think if they upgrade something for Washington, it's probably more likely to be the Brian Robinson spot. But Eckler last year, I think had positive EPAs per rush and reception. Yeah, 0.1 EPA per rush, 0.26 EPA per reception, 13% avoided tackle rate, getting, older player with less juice for sure range, but targeted 21% of the time he's running a route. The workload's probably not going to be as good next year, and the concussion risk, like one more concussion, his career probably should be over at that point. Frankly, you could have made the case it should have been over when he got concussed this year. But he was hurt. He came back in, and they immediately gave him work again. So I like Eckler. I like Marshawn Lloyd as well, but this guy took him at 185, which is a little bit lofty. Cook was going in the 50s. And then at some points in drafts, I got him in the 70s in some of my best teams last year. But that was like a pretty big fall, but he was going 50s for most last year. This year he's been mid 30s the entire time. He might have started, I don't recall it, but Pacheco was in the 30s. I don't think Cook was quite there. So they go, Keon, he looked like Kelvin Benjamin 2.0. That was my comp. that was my comp for Keon, was Kelvin Benjamin, and I think that proved to be mostly right. He should be better in year 2. I mean, that's really the main thing too for a lot of these guys is like in year 2, you kind of throw some of the priors out, and that's to me a big important part of the process. Where I think for rookies, I am mostly looking for guys that can be great in year 1, and those are the only guys I want to take really at big volume. For everybody else, like if you're a rookie who sucked in year 1, now a new fresh of eyes, and the hope is they make that year 1 to year 2 leap. So. Keon Coleman, I don't mind. I wish he were cheaper. I think he should be more in the Leggett range personally, but that's what it is. That's my splash play for today. Jordan Schultz. Take Jordan Schultz in your news reporter, your NFL reporter fight rankings. The really important stuff out there. Olave feels like 1 concussion, 2. I don't think so. He's young enough. He's more like a 2, I think, where he'd probably try a little bit more because he's supposed to get the big payday. So I think he's going to keep going. And frankly, Olave too, I would take the risk no matter what, given that he's getting Kellen Moore and like a lot of Eagles, like the best parts of Kellen Moore's career, taking the guy with him who's been with him at every stop as well to be his OC. I think you are getting the full breadth of Kellen Moore's genius this year. So any Saint to me, take your shots. Take your shots. Then much substance to go on with this take, but I feel like Ben wants to throw the whole current running back room away in Chicago and start over. I don't think you're wrong about that, unfortunately. I don't think that precludes DeAndre Swift from getting a good landing spot. But I think that right now, taking Swift, taking Roschon feels a little bit like a fool's errand. Roschon can last, I think, because he might still have utility as a pass blocker and power back. But Swift, I mean, we know what the signal was from Ben Johnson in Detroit. It was not good. Basically used him as a third down back and then shunted him off at some point. I don't know that I'd want to go that way again. All right, so 2662 here. We do need more receivers. Frankly, we need a little bit of everything. I think at this point, Zach Ertz to me a little bit underpriced. He's going to go back to Washington, I think, no matter what. Unfortunately, just unless somebody pays him like 12 to 15 mil, which I don't think the Commanders would do, he's probably going to go back on like an $8, $9, $10 million deal. He was good enough last year, including he held up the entire season, spiked in the playoffs. Of course, now that I said this out loud, Ben Sinnott will finally rise from the ashes like the beautiful Phoenix that he is. But unfortunately, I'm taking a shot on Zach Ertz here. 15 picks after ADP. I don't touch basketball till the afternoon. I do my data update. If you want to know my plays, you can subscribe to the NBA channel. You can see my data sheet. I update it first thing in the morning here. Then the afternoon, I refine the rate data and stuff like that. And by later today, I'll know the splash plays. But for right now, I don't even remember who I put on the thumbnail, to be honest. I think I put Bull in the thumbnail, so he could be one. Let's see. Needs to wear the puffy helmet. The puffy helmet, the Guardian helmet actually doesn't matter as much as it used to. It used to be the only helmet that prevented concussions above average, but now I think it's like technically the 7th best helmet type from preventing it. So the guys who actually do wear the Guardian helmet are like at this point, almost outdated, which is funny. It's funny that it took the NFL that long to allow them in game where they put the stupid branded caps over them. But also the players who are now adjusted to it are like behind the curve a little bit. So that is how it goes. Olave price feels great. That was concussion number 5 from number 2 back-to-back this year. Yeah, look, I mean, it's not good. Do you have 2 back-to-back? I don't recall that. That must have escaped my brain. I know he was hurt back-to-back. But yeah, look, I think Olave, no matter what, it's just you're getting a much better play caller, much better schemer. That's what you're hoping for. And on turf, like I think the Saints are, to me, a team that will do well next year, no matter what. Relatively, at least fantasy-wise. We have a 2663 here. Still could use a bunch of different guys. At this point, I think we need like real upside more than anything. So I'm going to go Tez Johnson here. Tez Johnson, a low ADOT guy, targeted a lot at Oregon. He's going to run in the 4.3s, I believe. A little bit small, kind of a Xavier Worthy size, maybe a little bit bigger than that. Tez Johnson, I'm not crazy about, but I think in the 18th, 19th, 20th round, I think that's where he has some utility. So Tez Johnson be my pick here to try to make it up at wide receiver a little bit. Shout out Tyler here. Appreciate you being on board. And yes, 20 months. Tyler's been on board from day one, doing good work. Tyler doing a lot of streams too. If you want to see him, of course, I do plug Tyler's Twitter because he's one of the few people out there doing the work every day on Twitter officially, doing the updates on everything. And frankly, Tyler, I think gets better at reading the tea leaves each season as well. So check him out on Twitter. Check out his streams on Old Emo Cowboy on the X/Twitter. He is a sexy, sweetheart beauty of a man. That he is. Shout out Sammy being here. Appreciate him. The big squirt. Oh, that's a fun nickname for Tyler. Tyler's shredded too, to the point where I had to ask Tyler if he's doing some PEDs. On the Splash Play Discord, Tyler posted a workout pic. I'm like, what the fuck? First of all, what are we doing here? Making everybody horny here when we're trying to have some fun on Discord. But the guy's shredded. Full credit to him. I'm just here popping fucking semi-glutides and not lifting weights. So you may tell you what, you take any semi-glutides and you want to throw up, at least if you're me most of the day. Good times. The walking season's back afoot soon because thankfully East Coast no longer fucking 40 degrees a day or 30 degrees a day. We're doing it. 2 more picks left here. Probably a second draft coming up if I had to guess because I got to make up for not doing streams every day. I do miss doing the daily kind of run of it. NBA is obviously scratching the itch a little bit, but we'll see. In my perfect world, we get to daily drafts, me booking guests once a week. Maybe a marathon draft once a week. Just need that pay. Pretty sure Tyler's post violated Rule 3 and 4. Fair enough. What are Rules 3 and 4 on my Discord? Of course, did the Splash Play Discord. You do get access there for $4.99 a month if you want to talk trash with us. Also talk about news in the given day, basketball and football in particular. Even things like the ER non-spinoff with our pal Robert from the Turd. Talk about that. Let's see. The rules on the Splash Play Discord. First rule, don't be a dick. Tough line to find sometimes. Try to abide by one simple rule. If you wouldn't say it to someone in person, don't say it here. Seems like Ian Rapoport might have needed to read the old Squirt Squad Splash Play Discord rules. No spamming, slurs, racism. That's rule 2. Homophobia, bullying. You guys know me. I don't want that. New rule 3, no not safe for work content. Boys will be boys. I guess that's what I have here. No, not safe for work stuff. I don't think that was not safe for work. We could look at men's robust Hulk Hogan style arms like Tyler. No doxing is rule 4. So you can't do that. Otherwise, internet asshole behavior. I guess you could say that Tyler's shown his muscles, internet asshole behavior. That's true. No doxing. You can't dox. I can dox. I can dox people who stalk me in drafts. That's the rule. 2673 here. One more RB would not be bad. More receivers would not be bad. I don't think Deontay Johnson, no matter how much they highlight him, is the pick. Diami Brown for our Bizarro Washington stack here. Sure. Wide receiver 8. We could do that. I did dox those cities. So really taking it back for the diehards here. At this point, it's all diehards watching. So most of you guys probably know what we're talking about. One more pick left here in this 20-round empire. Odyssey would probably be the better word. I guess it could be an empire. Built an empire of a team here. Not really. I don't think this team is going to withhold the test of time very much. All right. What do we do with this one? My browser is slowing down. I'm looking at something in another tab. My browser is slowing to a fucking crawl. All right. We got one more pick here. A 2683 build. We got Lamar and Penix as our QBs. Feel good about that. Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, the former Pittsburgh backfield, now hopefully going their separate ways like Journey. Rashad White, Ray Davis, Austin Eckler's RB room. I think we want one more RB on this at the end. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Rashad Bateman. I think that top 3 is really good. Top 4 getting a little bit weaker. Top 5 a little bit weaker than that. But Jalen Royals, I like to round out the room. Tez Johnson, Diami Brown. I really think one of my issues this year of bouncing around too much position by position is like the team is just wasn't worth it. Like I felt like I built a more balanced team throughout. I think the team is not as good as it could have been if I took an RB earlier and then just like took receiver a little bit more. I don't love how that worked, but anyway. Chance I'm rich if Najee goes to the Chargers. That'd be interesting. I think they bring back Dobbins. I think they have to. After he worked so hard for you year one. And that also seems like a real Jim Harbaugh thing as well. Like to bring him back and then to go like, oh yeah, like he earned it last year. And like, you know, he got this role that nobody thought he could be back at the NFL, blah, blah, blah. I really wish these fuckers make their pick because I have another draft starting at the same time frame here. The draft number 2 coming up. And once these fucking dickbags make their picks, we can end this draft. One of these guys is in the other fucking draft too, and he's not picking his fucking picks on the clock at normal time here. Great fun. I don't know why people aren't drafting more in February. Oh my God, fucking make the picks. It's your last pick. Why do we have to drag out the fucking clock for the last pick? All right, well, I'm picking Bijan in this other room. Sorry you can't see it live. All right, now this guy still hasn't made his pick. He's on the clock in the other room too. I hate this guy. I hate fucking, I fucking hate everything. Come on. This, by the way, this is like the biggest reason that everybody who drafts on Underdog right now is like not doing it as much or enjoying it as much is because they don't fucking put people on auto draft. And it's so fucking stupid. And maybe this is why I'm not getting my money is because I have to fucking critique them. Like, fucking asinine. Just like time people out so they don't waste 30-second clocks over and over and over again. All right, we got Gibson, McLaughlin here. I think to flesh out the RB room, either would be okay. I think McLaughlin's got a role no matter what. I think Ramondre could really take more of that New England role this year. So I'm going to go Jaleel McLaughlin here. All right, final team before we hop over to the other draft. We got 2, 7, 8, 3. Lamar, Michael Penix is our QBs. We got Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, Rashad White, Ray Davis, Austin Eckler, Jaleel McLaughlin. A wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Mike Evans, Josh Downs, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Royals, Tez Johnson, and Diami Brown. And a tight end, Sam Laporta, Isaiah Likely, Zach Ertz. So, we got the double stack for Lamar. We got the single stack for Penix, but I like that team. I think that team works. Again, think that hitting pockets a little bit differently maybe makes teams that I like slightly more, but it's okay. I really like the wide receiver start, but then I think we were just kind of behind. The Lamar deviation might have been it, but 7-pick ADP value. What are you going to do? Need 10-second drafts too? Sure. 10-second drafts are really fast, though. 15, I think, is appropriate time. Harbaugh's such a goon for that. People think QJ won't be the wide receiver 2 again this year. He really did cost them. Like, he actively blew them games last year. I wouldn't be sold on that because they could bring in. I mean, honestly, like they didn't really have to try Brendan Rice last year. I mean, they did obviously in the beginning of the season, and then he didn't do much with it. But they could bring in like a Jaden Higgins type, and I think he's probably at least somebody who could compete with QJ. And I don't like Jaden Higgins. I think he's like the same guy as Xavier Hutchinson, who was on the same Iowa State team doing the exact same shit, but now people think Higgins is a good pick and didn't think Hutchinson was like a real guy. I think that QJ could get replaced by anybody who's kind of like that, and it wouldn't be crazy, or at least have somebody come in and compete for it. But we'll see. But the Dobbins thing, like him playing for low money and also coming in and like being the team's bell cow back, I think that's absolutely something that Harbaugh would reward, whether it's ill-advised or not. I think it'd be it. Is this guy going to fucking time out in this draft too? Because I'm pretty sure he timed out almost every time last draft. Why enter multiple drafts if you're not going to make the picks? And it's fucking timely fashion. There we go. You did it, Antoine. Fucking 0-1-0-0 here. Tyreek, I hate at the spot. Bucky, I take a lot at the spot, and I would like to do that less. I have 31% Bucky so far. I think we're coming up for McLaurin here. I'm okay with Josh Jacobs. Even though I'm not taking him very much, I think he should probably be a little bit cheaper because I do think we get our Marshawn Lloyd reckoning next year. But, you know, is what it is. McLaurin at 21, though, does not feel very fun. And I think I'm setting myself up to perhaps reach for Jaden next, but we'll see. You know who wasn't – I was going through numbers yesterday. You know who wasn't bad in terms of EPA last year? Mike Williams, 0.4 EPA per target. He didn't command targets well. He wasn't the same Mike Williams, but I don't think he's dead in the water yet. Antoine needs his coffee. He needs a pour, probably, is it? Needs some ducks. Needs some Cialis. Got to get the blood flowing. Should bring in Savion Williams. They should bring in Savion Williams. He actually does command targets, but he sucks. Man, it's really weird. Like college stats are always really odd to me because like in the NFL, water finds its depth a little bit more where like good players get targeted more. Bad players tend to not get fed targets endlessly. You kind of have to be at least average to get kind of fed the ball repeatedly. In college, sometimes it's like they think a guy is good and they just keep giving the ball over and over again. And that's sort of the case for Savion, even though he showed nothing analytically. We have a 0-1-1 build here. No tight ends yet. Josh Jacobs comes all the way back around. T. Higgins still here. Guess the uncertainty around T. Higgins making people uncomfortable, maybe. Jacobs a decent value. Bucky decent value, but those guys fall enough here. Let's just go Higgins and try to shore up wide receiver. So not an uncommon start for me here with Bijan, Terry McLaurin, and T. Higgins in terms of my exposures. But this exact pairing here I don't think I've had before. Yeah, I think people are like leery about Bucky. I don't think they realize that he had one of the best rookie RB seasons in history. Like, I mean, like function. And I know it's like I'm the Bucky guy, so like obviously I'm gonna defend him a little bit more. But like he legitimately put up, I would say, probably a top 10 RB rookie season ever. Especially if you're gonna weight things for the fact that he didn't get a full workload really until the end of the season. And even then, he was still losing some snaps in a couple weeks. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else Bucky needs to do. Like, he's not going to get bigger, but he was one of the best RBs in football. He's one of the best RBs in football. Like, I know he wasn't quite Saquon, but he was legitimately one of the best running backs in football. So, yeah, I think you take him wherever. People, like, really, and I know we talk about this every year, like, where people just start to look for things to talk about. And, for me, it's obviously I do the same thing, but I don't approach content the same way where it's like, let's just ask questions about everything. I've seen people shitting on Devon Achane and like, he shouldn't go 1-2 turn. People were weird about him taking him in the 2-3 turn last year. And it's like, yeah, they took him in, they still did. And he still did well enough. And granted, like he and Kyron didn't quite get you the upside you needed in the playoffs, but like he and Kyron were perfectly credible picks at the 2-3 turn last year. And now Achane with no Mostert and, really not a threat to the workload you would think for Achane because he got a ton of work last year and they seem to really up his workload in the pass game in particular. Like, why would Achane go lower? So I don't know, man. People just want to critique everything. And if you're critiquing Bucky, I think you're really missing the forest from the trees here. I know Adam always defends me in the Bucky case too. 1,500 total yards as a rookie, which Adam always points out. And that's like, yeah, it's a crazy fucking number to have for a guy who was in the timeshare, played 45% of snaps. I think it's the other part that Adam always points out for me too. To help me out, help dunk it home. The Shaq and Kobe of defending Bucky here. Bucky over Henry. It's close. It's close, I think. Definitely closer than the ADPs have it. But I get it. Like Henry was fucking great last year too. So I'm not gonna shit on him. I think he had a positive EPA despite the incredible volume he had. Derrick Henry had, let's see. My sheet is fucking not going to the right spot. I don't care about Hunter Henry. Derrick Henry, 20% avoided tackle rate for Derrick Henry. It's a lot of juice for a guy who's over 30. 0.1 EPA per rush, 0.26 EPA per pass. Got targeted 18% of the time. He's running a route as well, even though obviously you had Justice Hill there taking some work away. Like Derrick Henry is great too, but like he's also old, and Bucky, we haven't theoretically seen Bucky's apex. If you want to fade a 1 year wonder, like I think Chase Brown is more the 1 year wonder to fade, though at this point where this price kind of fallen again, is he really that worse of a pick than Brees and Kyron? I'm not sold on that. But I think Bucky, like just, I don't know. I guess I have to defend him a second year, even though he's going in the third round. That would take Bucky over Henry for weeks 15 through 17. Also fair. But it's all like, to me, it's really hard to like, and I know this is one of those things you don't want to hear from your streamer because you want me to go like, here's who you have to take or whatever. Right? Or like, hopefully you guys who watch every stream don't. But in general, people want you to just go like, give them the answers to the test for the most part. But it's like, in reality, it's like, yeah, like any of these guys here can hit. It's just who do you feel the most comfortable with? Like, who do you think has a ceiling we haven't really seen yet? We've seen Josh Jacobs' ceiling. Brees Hall probably has one more level of ceiling, but you need some kind of weird things to happen for him to get there. You need the Jets to redecide that he's the player that you want. Jaden goes at 31 here. Really thought we'd have a shot, or 41 here. Really thought we'd have a shot at pushing him back, but not quite with our McLaurin pick. So there you can't take McLaurin early and push Jaden. I would have to have taken Jaden at 28, which not ready to do yet. The point being, like, any of these RBs in this range can hit. Like, if you're telling me Jonathan Taylor, who won tournaments last year, is going to hit again, I'm not shocked by it. But who would I want over the course of a season, knowing that, like, there's a level to hit that's higher for Bucky versus Jonathan Taylor just being probably the same guy again. Maybe it gets a little bit better if AR is not there and you have somebody else handing the ball to him who can't run the ball, but it's not going to get like infinitely better. So at this point, you're just kind of splitting hairs on anybody. It just comes down to construction and ADP value and all of that. And like, it's not the fun part of best ball, but that's sort of the reality of best ball. Rashee Rice here. Started to take Rashee Rice a little bit. Still have concerns here. I think the Underdog news alert is kind of throwing people off the injury. Like, he's probably going to be out 8 weeks, I would think, between the suspension and his injury. And I'm going to go Rome Odunze instead. If I had to guess, Rashee Rice starts the year on IR, gets a 4-week suspension on top of that, and he could still be worth picking, at some point if he comes in. But like, if he misses half the season, you're running the risk of him getting supplanted by somebody else who does something similar. He is still a relatively low draft capital guy, even though I think he's earned the role. I just don't think the Rashee Rice price tag is correct right now. I'll take him sometimes, but I would take Odunze over him, especially in my kind of build right now. We have a 0-1-3-0 here. A little bit of a discount on Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow with Higgins would not be crazy either. Kittle, okay. Waddle, just not a big Waddle guy, as you can see by me not having a single share. I'll go Burrow here. I don't foresee taking a ton of Burrow generally at his price tag, but we missed out on Jaden. We kind of need to compete with Jaden teams potentially, or going to have Jaden McLaurin if we get the finals working out in a reasonable way. So we'll take a shot here. So we're stacked up on Bengals. We got Burrow, Bijan, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Rome Odunze. I think because I went to Burrow here, if I pivot again or deviate again, take a tight end, we're going to be a little bit worse for wear at wide receiver and RB. So I'm going to try not to do that too much. I think Worthy's appropriately priced. Rice is overpriced, and somebody's going to come in and upset things a little bit. I've said it enough times here. If I were to make one of my, like, a big stand on KC this year, it would be that I think they try to course correct the team moving. I'm going to say the wrong direction, but like, they've won a Super Bowl. They made a Super Bowl the year after that. They're not really moving in the wrong direction. But they've been half-assing it on offense for 2 straight years now. I mean, since they brought in Matt Nagy, I'm sure that goes hand in hand. But also, like, the team didn't give weapons on offense. They clearly thought Mahomes could get it done with less. They didn't spend big money on it. I think this year they throw some draft capital, throw some money at the situation, try to get one more meaningful receiver in. And then it's probably going to be Worthy, Rice at some point, and then whatever this mystery third receiver is. Maybe it ends up being 2 meaningful receivers they bring in, but a little bit less capital there, whether it be draft or free agency money. But really do think that the Chiefs try to course correct things. So to me, I think Worthy really played well in the home stretch, showed a lot that I didn't think he had in him, to be totally honest. But I don't think he's immune to a drop. I think he drops a little bit when they add some other weapon. Would be my guess. I feel like if you don't get McBride or Bowers, it's not worth taking tight ends to like the 100 range. I don't agree with that. I think Kittle's going to be better next year. Debo, again, confirmed out. We saw Kittle have 25% target per out run last year. And I don't think the Niners add in something meaningful there. Kittle's 25% target per out run and a 0.58 EPA per target. He was a beast. Kittle's fine. He could spike an upside. I would agree that I feel the best about McBride and Bowers. But in terms of you're just hunting for the 1 week spike in the playoffs, Kittle can give you that. Laporta can give you that. I still like Hawkinson as well. I think for a guy like McCarthy, I think he's going to be actually a pretty popular target. I would say for PPR, probably looks a little bit better, but we'll see. Chiefs pass game coordinator said it's terrifying and stressful to coach Mahomes because he doesn't want to mess up. They got to fire him up or he'll keep playing the conservative style of play. That's interesting. Okay, so I thought it was more of a team edict, but maybe a little bit of passing the buck of blame a little bit there. I think no matter what, whether you're Mahomes or you're the team, you kind of have to look at what happened this year and go, we need to correct something here. That would really be a strong lean for me. James Conner at this point would not be bad, though we are getting a little bit thinner receiver. I like Juwan Jennings. I've started to take him more, especially now that we know Debo's gone. Jennings' price tag, I think, is going to get into the 60s. I have some concern for a guy who went undrafted last year and now he's going this high, like it feels a little bit flighty. But Jennings was, I think, at a 28% target per out run last year. He was like your alpha receiver. And every week I would see it and be like, what is going on here? 29% target per out run, which is higher than Ayuk, higher than Debo by a good amount, a little bit higher than Kittle, not crazy high. But I think Jennings to me is just a good pick in this range. So pick 69 for me is Juwan Jennings. We have a 1140 build here. We can add to the Niners stuff if we wanted. Take Ayuk, try to consolidate things a little bit. Could also go Pollard here for another RB. I don't mind him. Hockenson for that semi-elite-ish tight end, I think is also okay. I'm not sold on doing the Niners stack yet, so I am going to try to go Hockenson if I click it. Nah, fuck. Oh, why did it expand? I hit the fucking star button, man. Come on. Oh, all right, Debo. The good news is Debo's also going to come up because he is going to go somewhere that needs a wide receiver, and they're going to treat him like he's a fucking star. That's annoying. I really wanted Hockenson there. I think that would have rounded out this build more. Pearsall's fine. I would favor Jennings and Ayuk over Pearsall, though. Pearsall's fine. He spiked last year, obviously won tournaments, so you'll never hear me go, this guy can't win a tournament because he fucking did it. So I frankly won't say that about really any player. But Pearsall, yeah, I have no issue with Pearsall either. But I wanted Hockenson. I think Hockenson was a good pick there. Shouts to all the juggalos and juggalettes. Yes, that's always what we say here on Splash Play. They're the ones we're always looking for. Looking to the most, like our Northern Lights. I just don't see much difference between Hawk, Andrews, Laporta, and Kraft, Goddard, and Njoku, I guess. Well, it's fine, but the point is like that. I think you made the point. It's tier break. it's a tier break. It's another tier break. But I think the point is that, like, yeah, I love Bowers. Yeah, I love McBride. There are still reasons to go to other tight ends, though. Like, there's still reasons to go to tight ends in most ranges here. Still about being mostly price sensitive and all that. And Njoku, frankly, probably is going to benefit from it next year from number one, better QB play. Number two, a West Coast offense. Number three, you're also now getting leverage on a really highly drafted Jerry Jeudy, who I think feels pretty fragile. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think the toughest part of best ball, really, which, like, I think should just be a fucking blaring neon light for people play it, is like anything can win, and anything you think is going to win from weeks 1 through 14 is probably not going to win because of how the nature of all that works. We'd all probably be a lot happier in best ball if we accept that as reality. And like, yeah, like I would love to have every team have Brock Bowers or McBride or whatever on it. But in reality, like, yeah, Kittle can beat out my, and I had so much of those guys last year. They were my two highest exposed tight ends, I think. Besides, cheap ass Juwan Johnson, maybe, or some shit. Even that, no, I was definitely higher on those guys than Juwan. Point being, though, is like, they're still really high draft capital. So for Bowers and for McBride, like, you need, I mean, Adam, I'm sure would love this, but like, you would need Ladd McConkey to beat Bowers meaningfully. You would need McLaurin to do it. You need Tyreek Hill to do it. Like, somebody else here spiking would then make Bowers be less valuable. Same thing around McBride here. Harrison, JSN, Higgins spike. That makes McBride less valuable. So I don't know. I feel like best ball to me in some respects. And obviously we try to have fun here and talk about the football part of it and, like, you know, team smoke signals and shit like that's all that matters. But like for best ball, really, it's kind of like sports betting where really there's less to talk about than you would think with it. You just want to set yourself up as advantageously as possible to have a shot for your shit to come together well at the end. And ultimately, like, any player is going to hit in a given situation. You know, in a world of infinite outcomes kind of thing. Me being probably nihilistic about best ball, but like, that's the best advice is like, just draft a team. It's not fucking dumb shit and you'll probably be okay. Even if you love McBride and Bowers, you can take Hockenson. You can hit. But it really is just the equivalent of like, oh, this bet is, this sportsbook thinks it's a 20% probability and it's actually a 50% probability. I should take that bet. Like, that's really just what best ball is. We have a 1150 here. Aaron Jones, a pick that I like. He's a little bit underpriced for the fact people don't know yet that he's going back to Minnesota. I'm taking a lot of Aaron Jones. I could certainly take more Ramondre, who can come up if the gritty guy keeps taking him over and over again. I'm going to go Aaron Jones, though. I like him as the back. He was great last year. I think he goes back to Minnesota. I think McCarthy probably relies on him more. Same thing we talked about with Hockenson, probably more checkdowns coming his way. So Aaron Jones is it for me. Thank you. If anybody else actually gets what I'm talking about, it's guys like Best Ball Brian here, so I appreciate it. Debo to Carolina, you don't want another slot there, given that all the guys there play better in the slot. They need an outside. They need a boundary receiver desperately. A position where half their value comes from TDs. They'll take a massive stand unless you can stomach it. That's also a fair point. Could the Chiefs sign Aaron Jones? They could. I don't think they will. I don't think they would spend this much money. It's probably going to take... I think the reports out there, I think, were that he's going to get paid 10, 11 by Minnesota, which is pretty good for a guy at his age. Probably a 2-year deal, I would guess, for Aaron Jones. 2 years, 20 mil guaranteed. Or 3 years, 20 mil guaranteed, I think would be it. And the third year is probably a cut year. 1-2-5-0 build here. Pacheco at the discount. At a certain point, just get a little bit tempting. Brock Purdy here with our Niners single stack and Debo not coming back at this point. It's basically been announced. Tyler Warren, I also don't mind here. A little bit overpriced, though, for sure. I think at this point, we kind of just want to be done at QB because we already lost out on Caleb. And I like Warren, but I don't think I need him here. So a 2-2-5-0 build. Burrow and Purdy, hard to get more stable at QB than that. Bijan and Jones is our RBs. We need to get more volume here, but I feel like that's a really good baseline. McLaurin, Higgins, Odunze, Juwan Jennings, Debo. We're missing that lights out number one receiver guy here. Jennings showed that upside at parts last year, but he is really just a journeyman for the most part who's now getting an upgrade. So I don't feel great about it, but the team makes sense, I think. And Debo's going to go somewhere. It's going to pay too much draft capital for him. If I had to guess, Debo to Pittsburgh, to me, feels really on the nose. And I would think his touchdown equity in Pittsburgh would be pretty good. Pittsburgh with Jalen Warren and Debo would be a fun touchdown split, and Pickens as well, obviously keeping him there. Because Jalen Warren's not going to be a guy they feed like 5 red zone touches a game to, I don't think. So yeah, Debo in the Cordero Patterson role, getting some gimmicky touches, few runs there, some screens, and then getting hopefully some deep shots as well whenever they want to go that way. I think Debo in Pittsburgh would actually be a pretty good fit. I'm pretty anti anybody to Pittsburgh, but Debo to Pittsburgh would be pretty nice. Chubb to KC in a 1-year deal. Yep. Yeah, that I could see. Chubb to KC. Let's look at trying to think off who would be another good one for Chubb. Going through the sheet. So Cardinals, no. Ravens, no. Falcons, no. Bills, maybe. Not perfect there. I think Ray Davis they should use for that, but Chubb, I could see the Bills doing that. They've brought in vets before to hammer touchdowns away. Let us not forget the Latavius Murray year just last year. Carolina Panthers, maybe. Because you're not going to have Brooks this year. That would really hurt Chuba if you brought in a Nick Chubb to steal goal line work. I don't think that's a likelihood, but that's the kind of deal I could see happening. Bengals, be interesting. That'd be interesting. Chuba and Chubb would be odd just because of the name and all that. Chubb to Denver. He's not a bell cow, though, and I think Denver is smarter than they seem about that stuff. Chicago is a power back as your Montgomery. He doesn't have the juice of Montgomery, but maybe. Cleveland, he's not going back there, it doesn't look like. Dallas, maybe as the power back. They didn't seem to like Rico in the red zone too much. I think Dallas is going to do something weird at RB, though, no matter what. There was one mock draft out there that had them taking O'Marion Hampton at 12. That, honestly, even though it sounds insane, that is exactly the kind of thing the Cowboys would do. So I think that's not crazy. Denver, maybe. Detroit, no. Houston, no. Green Bay, no. Indianapolis, no. Rams, no, I don't think. Jacksonville, probably not. I'm assuming Jacksonville keeps the RB room intact, but maybe a chance they don't. But that doesn't seem to me like a Nick Chubb spot. And this guy, fucking Antoine. Look, count it down. There we go. All right. I feel like he knows. He can sense my frustration. It's a power beyond the universe here. 2-2-5-0 build here. DeAndre Swift, we had liked taking at one point, now not so much. Need to get tight ends in at some point as well. I don't mind Tucker Kraft, but I am going to take Tank Bigsby here. I think we are of now. The thing is, like, Swift can get cut and go somewhere good, but I'm worried that he stays in Chicago and just gets buried on the depth chart, which would be the worst outcome for him. So I'm going to, at this ADP, so I'm going to go Tank Bigsby over DeAndre Swift. which feels kind of risky, but it is what it is. So a 2-3-5-0 build here. We got Burrow and Purdy, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Tank Bigsby here, hoping that Bigsby is sort of the Rashad White power back here in this new Liam Cohen situation coming to Jacksonville. We got Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Romo Dunze, Juwan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel, and no tight end. So a 2-3-5-0 build, fairly balanced. Got to make it up a tight end, but we have a 20-round draft here, so we could throw some volume at tight end and not feel bad about that. Nick Chubb spots besides this. Jacksonville, no, I don't think really. Vikings, I would think no, unless Aaron Jones left, then things get weird. Chiefs, I would say maybe. Saints, they could bring in something upset Kamara, but Chubb doesn't feel right to me. Raiders, maybe. That feels like a Pete Carroll bullshit kind of thing to do. Giants, I would say no. Chargers, I would also probably say no. 2-3-5-0, we still have DeAndre here. Do we want to pass at him again is the question. Because, like, Tajay, I really don't mind either. I think he showed a good amount on the home stretch last year. But at this point, I think a 20-pick discount. Let's take DeAndre Swift. Man, not getting Hawkinson really kind of threw off my feng shui in this lineup, I think. But we now have a 2-4-5-0, so we've made it up at RB pretty well. I think feeling pretty steady here with our Bijan hero. So we have Burrow and Purdy, Bijan and Aaron Jones with Tank Bigsby and DeAndre Swift here. A 15-pick discount on Swift. We got Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Odunze, Juwan Jennings, and Deebo Samuel at wide receiver, and no tight ends. Could not disagree more about Samson. Samson is not, I think, ready to play year one because Tennessee does not prepare backs to play in year one. Jalen Wright was not good last year. Really, really not good. And he and Dylan Sampson going to be similar speed, similar RAS would be my guess. Similar production in Tennessee as well. Samson can hit because he's fast, and anybody's fast, they get the draft capital and can go somewhere that wants to use him. Garendo, started to hit last year when he finally cleared out the wreckage in front of him. But I don't think Samson's that good. I don't buy that at all, Samson. Strongly, if you don't feel that way about Samson. Saying Chubb not a bell cow because of injuries, because he's not a bell cow now. No, he shouldn't be. He's almost 30 and he's had multiple catastrophic leg injuries. So no, he's not a bell cow. His best shot's probably like 10 to 15 touches and some red zone work, and hopefully the majority of the red zone work. So Chubb, Eagles, no. Dolphins, they could do that. Niners, no. Patriots, people think Ramondre is a lock there. That could change, though he did get paid last year. Seahawks, no. Jets are going to do something weird at RB, I think. But I would say probably no. Bucks, no. Steelers, maybe for Nick Chubb. Could you imagine if the Steelers signed Nick Chubb? That would be... Browns fans, I feel like, would be crying over that. Commanders, bring Nick Chubb in as a vessel against Brian Robinson being kind of mid. Maybe. Titans, I don't see it for the Titans. That'd be my Nick Chubb take. But I think he can go somewhere good. KC, though, would be the nut, I think, out of all that. Once the 8 RBs ahead of Garendo got hurt, he did show some promise. But that's the thing, though, is like because he's fast, he actually had the opportunity to get in there at some point. Not enough to get ahead of Jordan Mason because he was hurt and whatever and couldn't pass him up in the depth chart. But I think for Samson, like to me, Samson's got to jump through a lot of fucking hoops to get there. I think he's an okay pick at his range, but I don't. It's really hard to go from Tennessee to a real offense because Tennessee, as I've said enough times here, and maybe Brad doesn't hear me talk about it, but Tennessee splits out like 5 receivers. They'll run a 4-man offensive line. Like they just do a lot of bullshit to get RBs in a really open space and a lot of movement too. Like that's why Jalen Hyatt was kind of a prospect people nickel and dimed and maybe we're right about because he was basically getting video game production. It wasn't real life stuff in terms of how football works in the pros. So Samson's the same thing. Like you just can't have guys going against 4-man lines and get a real read on how they are as a talent. He's fast, like it's crazy fast, but he just was not good really. Or at least stuff I look at. He also doesn't avoid tackles that much, which is another thing. Like fast guys that don't avoid tackles to me, never really the thing. Evan Ingram, there are some cap savings for Jacksonville if he doesn't go back, but I still think he's an okay click here. We just need to make up some tight end volume, so I'm going to go Ingram. I think if Ingram does go back to Jacksonville, he's going to be a really good pick in an offense that absolutely going to flow through Brian Thomas. Liam Cohen said as much in interviews this week, but still should be a situation where Evan Ingram or whoever's the tight end there, Brenton Strange would be your much cheaper option. that guy's still going to get pretty good work because the offense is going to be a little more free flowing and guys will get open at different, levels of the field and all that. So would say that for me, Evan Ingram, still worth a shot. Brett, I think you're saying numbers here without really knowing them. But I'll pull it up in a minute. All right, on the clock here. Quentin Johnston still on the clock, 10 picks after ADP, or still on the board, rather. Rashad White, if you want to add some more volume at receiver, would be okay. Romeo Doubs, a little bit undervalued because of the fact that there are going to be less receivers in Green Bay this year with Watson gone. So I'm going to go Doubs. Anyway, Dylan Sampson last year had a 22.5% avoided tackle rate, which if you look at my data sheet, you will see it's color-coded. In fact, flat average in the class. And usually guys in the pros drop about 10% off their avoided tackle rate. Like Bucky was 33 in the pros. He went down to 23, I think, last year. That's year one, so it could get a little bit better. He was at 21.4%. He was at 33 and change last year. Guys like Kenneth Walker have gone up and down at a 33% rate. But generally, a guy who's in the 20s is going to go down to 10, and that puts you in like the mixing range. So, yeah, no, he's really – I'm sorry to like piss on your parade, but like it's important to look at data to balance out your video takes or things you saw watching SEC games. He's kind of just a dude. He is kind of just a dude. Yeah, I don't Mina Kimes says, no respect to Mina. I think she's an idiot for that. I don't know. And she's like an analytics snob, so I honestly don't know what she's looking at. But there's no world in which it shouldn't be Gentino, Marion Hampton as your top two RBs. Like, there's none. Unless we're just grading, unless we think 40 times are going to lead to tremendous RB production. Dylan Sampson is just like really just the guy. And he's just the guy in an offense that like you should be crushing it. Like the thing is he got volume. And that's the thing with a lot of backs in this class. Like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 backs I have on my sheet that have 20 or more touches, 20 more opportunities per game last year. There's another, looks like 8 or so that had 15 or more. It's a lot of guys who got volume, and because those guys got volume, everybody thinks they were actually good. In reality, there were only a couple actually good backs in the class. Like there's a lot of ones that are okay, but I will die on that hill. I've said it enough. Follow your hearts. Hampton being disrespected, that changes after this weekend. I mean, he's not gonna be an RAS beast if that's what you're hoping for. If anything, he might come out slow. I think he's probably around a 4.55 guy. I don't. What? Hampton's gonna jump Kamara in New Orleans? Right, you're asking a lot, dude. That's what we're talking about here. You are asking a lot. Dylan Sampson is Raheem Mostert before he figured it out in the NFL. I don't see it year one. And that's the thing is like, you could think a guy is an okay prospect for his career. To be good year one, it is like having a confluence of factors coming together to make it work out for you. In as much as you were great in college, you showed you could handle volume and that you could do it efficiently. And now you've landed on a team that took you with enough draft capital that gets you on the field immediately or gives you a shot to compete to get on the field immediately. And you earn it throughout training camp because you're healthy throughout training camp and you're good to go and all of that. Like there's a lot of things that have to come together for a guy to be good. So when there's any sort of barriers, like the fact that he played in a fucking bullshit offense, like that's going to make that guy less appealing. And hey, you want to tail me to Kimes over me? More power to you. I just really don't agree with it. Henderson's faster in Hampton. He's not better at football than Hampton in any aspect. Really would encourage you guys, if you want to, the $5 tier here on the channel, join the VIP Discord. You can see it. I made a special channel for it. You can look at all my data sheets, all the stuff I pull from Sports Info Solutions. You will start to get the backs more. Maybe one data sheet won't do it for you, but like really, there is a way to approach RB analysis besides watching a guy and seeing he had 20 touches a game. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people in the media do. And if you want to get good at this stuff, I think you need to do it differently. But let's see. Look, I'll say it. You can follow your hearts. It's your money. Gamble your money however you want. It's what I always say. 2471 build here. Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy, as we've talked about here, feeling good at QB. Don't have to worry about adding a third. Bijan, Aaron Jones, Tank Bigsby, DeAndre Swift. We need to add some more RBs soon because Swift I think we'll get a decent free agent outcome if he gets cut, but if he's stuck on Chicago, it might be a dead spot. We got Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Romo Dunze, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, of course, taking him here in the expectation that he moves on. Romeo Doubs and Wicks, two guys underpriced because Green Bay is missing a receiver, and I don't think they're going to replace it. Not going to replace that Watson spot with something meaningful. We need more tight ends, and we have Hunter Henry here, so I'm going to do that now. Think of this team. We're just going to expect Bijan to carry a lot of the water and hope that works out okay, which I can live with. So Hunter Henry, tight end 2. Got out another tight end. At least one more RB, I think. Generally starting only 1 year in college isn't great for an RB prospect. That's also true. I don't track the early breakout stuff that people swear by and all of that because I think it's changing, especially now with the NIL and like guys being better with age. But ultimately to me is like the one thing that has not led me astray so far is when players look unbeatable to me in my data, they haven't failed yet. When there are things that I can like, kind of pick through the fine-tooth comb, they have tended to fail or at least, like hit more of the middle outcome. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about my process as well. But Terrence here backing me up. Spags rookie data analysis best in the biz. I need to go back and watch it. I agree, but I think this is a year too where we're starting to get more definition on the wide receivers. I don't think people have fully caught up on the RB situation yet. That it is really going to be most likely just Jency and Hampton going high. And even then, like high meaning first round. And I think for Hampton, shot that he goes early second, but I think there's a pretty good chance he still goes first. Everybody else is going late second, I think third, fourth. And at that point, we're talking their Audric Estime. And I loved Audric Estime. I can tell you that it was a real uphill battle for Audric Estime to get where he needed to go. And he still didn't really get there. And now he might not have a real job in year 2 because they're going to bring in somebody better. So we'll see. But I think this RB class will be, I think it'll look better year 2, year 3, year 4 than it will year 1, besides Jency and besides Hampton. Hampton numbers for anybody that's curious about it. And again, you get all my data here that I look at if you want to see it. Hampton, 27 opportunities a game, so targets plus rushes, 26% target route run, 26% avoided tackle rate, still in wide receiver mode. Only a 0.1 EPA per rush, but that much volume playing in North Carolina, we can live with that. High EPA per reception, 0.36 EPA per reception. For him, along with a 42% avoided tackle rate there. So higher avoided tackle rate in the pass game, getting targeted a decent amount with a positive EPA. And also Hampton, big-bodied guys. So, like, he's going to be able to pass protect from day one. Jency, there's a chance that he probably, I think he'll be a better pass catcher than he was at Boise State, but he is small enough that maybe he doesn't get that third down work, gets buckied to some extent on that front. But Hampton, like, there's no concern of that at all, or there shouldn't be. Like, he's going to be out there, I think, getting 3 downs of work. I still don't like the ADP for him. Like, he's too expensive in the 50s, but he's like so much better of a prospect than Dylan Sampson. I can't, but the ADPs account for that, so it is what it is. 2472. Antoine taking the whole clock per usual. Genius drafting. We got Nick Chubb here. Noah Gray, I do like as a bailout as well because we are a little bit weak at tight end. And I like the 5th RB here, but I think we need Noah Gray more. So third tight end in here. We have now a 2473 build. And I'll wait till my next pick to give it a read. I did not think Gesicki would go that early because he would have been a good tight end 4 to throw on. Gesicki, I do think, goes back to Cincinnati for what it's worth as well, based on some of the whispers out there. Burrow doesn't want any guys off the team. Higgins, that might be a necessity. But Gesicki, they could bring back for cheap, so I think they will. Hampton's game is like if Le'Veon Bell and DeMarco Murray had a football baby. That's honestly completely fair comps. I actually think I compared him to DeMarco Murray on the first video I did. He's like a bit of an upright runner, but he does enough of everything. And frankly, they don't make guys like Omarion Hampton as much anymore. What if Chiefs or Ravens take Henderson round 1? That would be fucking batshit for both teams. That would be an awful usage of draft capital for both teams. Nick Chubb comes all the way back around. Don't mind taking Troy Franklin either, but Nick Chubb is a free agent. He's a vet. He's one of those guys. I think that gets a spot here as a touchdown hound back somewhere. So 2573 build here. And at that point, he probably goes in the 130s, 120s. So we're getting some ADP value, I think, where it'll be. I have Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy as my QBs right now, giving the team a read. We got Bijan, Aaron Jones, Tank Bigsby, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb. I think these top three, especially the top two, can carry a lot of water, but one more RB might be necessary here because Swift, we're taking on a good amount of risk. Chubb, we're taking on some risk, even though I think it'll be okay. Even Tank Bigsby, we're frankly taking on some risk because Liam Cohen, the front office could fall in love with one of the RBs in the class and think he's better than Bigsby, and they probably wouldn't be wrong. So Bigsby will take here, but maybe some concern. McLaurin, Higgins, Odunze, Juwan Jennings, Debo, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, and a tight end, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Noah Gray. Feels like we need a fourth here. Let's see. Will I have any Estime and Vidal and any non-performance from last year, like more than ADP? I'm taking Estime a little bit. I do think the quotes from Sean Payton this week spooked me a little. He did make it sound like Estime is going to be back into the mix, but they want to bring in somebody who can be kind of the featured guy. So that doesn't make Estime's prospects good. At that point, your hope is that Estime is like your contingent value or maybe a goal line back with contingent value. But I think Estime is getting less appealing. Vidal, I've never liked Vidal, so I'm not really there, but I don't think there's any lack of merit to it. Use the same thing as Estime. I think so. You're right to ask about them both. But Vidal, to me, I mean, I look at Vidal's numbers. Vidal, positive EPA on pass plays, 0.2 EPA there, negative 0.16 EPA per rush, avoided tackle rate of 14%. Didn't get any goal line. Actually got 0.8 red zone rushes a game, so we got something there. Estime, I know, wasn't good either. Negative 0.05 EPA per rush, negative 0.06 EPA per pass, so a little bit better in the run game than Vidal was, but not great. 13% avoided tackle rate. He wasn't a high avoided tackle rate guy in college, not a shocker there. Should be more of a bruiser back. And again, same 0.8 red zone intended touches a game too. They honestly grade out very similarly, besides the fact that like they're different, players in terms of how an offense would use them. But neither Vidal or Estime was good. Neither was bad either. Both were better than Kyron Williams was his rookie year, which people will go, oh, he was injured, ankle injury. He still wasn't good his rookie year. These guys were better than Kyron. So like year two, if it works out okay, it can be better. But, I think Denver has shown a lot of signs of things flipping around there. The chat's been drunk much more days than this. Kyron does not stink. He's a plus EPA rusher at a pretty big volume. Very hard to do that. All right, 2573 here. Antoine going to take the whole clock here to think about it. Slash, he's probably already in another draft room, and he's forgotten about this one, and he just lets it auto draft. So that's also very fun as well. There we go. Oh, good. Not even ranked. Just take the guy on top of the board. 2573 here. I, of course, do like Jackson Dart. Probably functionally my favorite QB, even though Cam Ward is the one I take the most. Marshawn Lloyd does the pick here. We just saw him go at 185 last draft. Here we're getting him at 213. So RB6, Marshawn Lloyd. I love it. I think that helps out a lot. So we're, I think, done at RB here. 2673 build. One more pick in round 19, and then we got round 20, and we're done. And that's how drafts work. And guys, I think you're all probably subscribed at this point, but if you are new around here, please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. I really just tell you how it is for drafts, I think today in particular. But that's always the goal here on Splash Play, so please show some love, subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. If you're new to Underdog, I don't know why you'd be watching this stream if you were, but if you are, get on there. $1,000 of bonus cash right now. Link in the description to check it out, and that link will keep going even if I don't sign a new deal anytime soon because they don't love me. Don't fucking care about my happiness. You want to get better at betting, use Unabated's data as well. 20% off, link in the description there. NBA in particular, you'd be up 40 grand if you tailed their bets. It's just, actually, the funny part is for Unabated, which you might not actually find funny, but I think it's funny. So that's only one side of their bets. If you placed all their bets 30 minutes before tip-off, you'd be up 40 grand. If you also placed all the bets when they released their projections, you'd be up another, I think, 38 grand. So it's crazy how much money you could be up. $100 units is what it would be. If you use Unabated's data, and I know people are really leery of betting snake oil sales, but like we talked about earlier, this is the binary thing. Like this, much like best ball, any player, as long as you don't structure things too stupidly, can win you a tournament. For unabated, it's as simple as using good data and being ahead of markets and using a simulation tool to do it. And that sounds complicated. They really idiot-proof it as much as possible. And I think I've done a terrible job selling the product because I'm not converting enough. But like, you would make enough money to fund BBM and all your puppies if you just bet on fucking unabated. So please do it. Please make me look good by converting, but also yourself. 2673 build here. I honestly want one more tight end. I think Juwan Johnson, who is a free agent and could go to Denver, maybe be part of the rising tide of Bo Nix, or could go somewhere else that needs tight end and steal some touchdowns away. I think he is it. So fourth tight end here, Ingram, Hunter Henry, Noah Gray, Juwan Johnson. We absorbed risk at tight end with Ingram potentially a cut candidate. If he did get cut, I think he'd probably get a decent free agent outcome. But because we absorbed risk here with these guys that I think are not the best producers, have to add volume there. Receiver, I think the receiver room works. I like getting the Green Bay guys cheap here, getting the double stack minus Jaden Reed, who was functionally dog shit last year. These guys are good and going to benefit from Watson not being in. So I like that. I like to see him. A little bit of a different capital distribution than I certainly was doing last year, going a lot heavier in wide receiver capital. But I think we got guys that work as a team. How many bets do that per day? It would be every bet. So it'd be every bet that's available 30 minutes before tip off, and then every bet when they release. So I'm not, they do count, they're pretty generous on which markets they count. They count the general odds as opposed to like the best EV, but like it's a pretty accurate representation. They're like, for unabated customers, they're the most, and I say this, positively, in terms of betting, they're the most chiselers of chiselers, where like you try to slip any kind of like wordplay shit by them, or like, oh, this, like the data, you fudge it, like they're going to call them out on it. So unabated's pretty clear about the stuff. But yeah, it would be every bet in the database though, for sure. But I know they're only looking at market price as opposed to like when BetMGM has something at plus 110 as opposed to every other book having it at minus 125. Nothing's free money. You have to put in the work and you have to, spot your own bankroll. But, again, if you put in $10 bets, you'd be up 4K. Like, I don't know. Obviously, the $100 number is going to make it look the best because you're talking $40,000 there, but not everybody has $100 units. And even if you had $100 units, sometimes people get limited and don't have it. But directional accuracy is what you're looking for. I don't know. People just frankly, honestly, like this isn't, unabated doesn't pay me for this stream. So I just talk honestly about it. Like people don't use unabated and Odd Shopper, Odd Jam to a lesser extent, because I think that's now the least sharp of the three, just based on what I know from the products. Like they don't use those products enough. It's not fun to bet, I guess, because you're not spinning up whimsy. But like even if you're building a pick'em, you should be using unabated or Odd Shopper, whatever. But for NBA in particular, you should be using unabated because actually, make the projections for the bets. Stochastic just uses market stuff with Odd Shopper. Odd Jam only uses market stuff. They honestly don't even know sports really over there. But they know math. And that's the math. Sad to see Ben Sinnott here at 222. I passed him up for Juwan Johnson. That makes me sad too. There's a world where Ben Sinnott hits this year. I just think it's one, unfortunately, where Zach Ertz, somebody pays him fucking $12 million to play tight end. And he doesn't go back to the Commanders. Is the only way to do it, unfortunately. That's true. I always make sure to respond to that. 2674 here. We need one more pick. Thinking receiver. Woody Marks. Thanks, Antoine. Great draft. Could do a 7th RB as well. But we took Bijan early. I think that's the time to not do that. Naylor probably locked into wide receiver 3 for Minnesota. I don't take him at all. Darius Slayton I take a lot of. Let's take a Naylor today. Naylor, I hardly knew her. Our last pick here. Final team is going to be a 2684. We got Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy here as our QBs. Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, Tank Bigsby, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, and Marshawn Lloyd as our RBs. Wide receiver, we started a little bit later here, but we got McLaurin, reached for him. Got then the discount on T. Higgins. Romo Dunze, Juwan Jennings, Debo Samuel, little bit of a discount, I guess. Odunze, nice discount. Dontavian Wicks, these guys just shouldn't be that cheap. I really will highlight this. If you're dead in the water at wide receiver, these guys being your wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, like they are in the mix for Green Bay in a real way because Watson's probably not going to play the entire year. At the very least, he's going to miss like 12 weeks. It's going to be not good for him coming off an ACL tear. And especially because it's Watson too, where they're extra conservative with. Jalen Naylor rounds out this room here. Maybe we get Green Bay, Minnesota or something in week 17. Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, Noah Gray, Juwan Johnson. I'm happy with these teams, guys. I think these are definitely different feeling teams than we had last year, but these are teams that feel pretty good. So guys, if you got value in this video, if you just enjoyed it, if the things I talked about here, even if just hearing me talk about Jordan Schultz here and how we back him over that Bastardine Rapoport, please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. The channel's stalling a little bit here because I'm not doing the same level of everyday streams. Have to retrain the YouTube algorithm, have to get Underdog to agree to terms so we can start doing drafts every day again here. But hopefully that'll be coming up soon. Again, I'm ready to do the work here on my partial labor strike, but I appreciate you guys being here. And of course, I'm going to always prepare as much as I can. I read everything. I look at everything. I check the data. I will also try to push back if I think something you're saying is not right. And if you don't like that, go watch somebody else who's only going to agree with you. But here on the stream, I will always do the best I can to find the North Star and tell you what it actually means to be profitable about this stuff because it is fucking hard to do. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash, link description, take advantage of it. Our going out of business sale with Underdog. Well, alas, unabated. We talked about it here. You'd be up 40 grand if you placed all the pregame bets. You'd be up 80 grand if you placed all the bets they give you in projections release, and then the ones 30 minutes for tip-off. So go to unabated. I don't know how to sell you more on that. And obviously, that's an extreme example there of placing every bet using $100 units. But you can just get in good bets. Like, just fucking make money on betting. Like, it's not that hard, even though people make it out to be. Stochastic, 15% off as well. Link in the description there if you want NBA data for the next day for just $1. You can also click the link in the description, go over there, and you'll find a way to do that with one of their promos they have going. But do all that stuff, please, and make sure to also gamble responsibly. It's always really important to me here, even though it's always money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Back on the at Splash Play NBA channel at 4 p.m. today. So if you want to play some NBA with me, come along there, hang out, give you some free unabated bets as well so you can see what they have going over there. And I'll see you guys then. So enjoy your days, guys. Good luck, and talk to you soon. Enjoy the Discord, too. Join down below. $5. Get added in there. Great place to be. Great place to hang out. See you guys again soon. Bye.